Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Connecting ACO Community. My name is Derek Bermel. I'm the Artistic Director of the American Composers Orchestra. And today's edition, which I believe is session number 6, it features the composer Yuan-Chen Li and the cellist Jeffrey Zeigler, who are both here with us today. Welcome to you both. The title of the piece, as far as I can tell, is Sin, Sim, Sing. I hope I got that right. At first I thought it was kind of like a Benny Goodman thing, but now I realize it's something completely different. So we're gonna hear about that. To our audience, welcome to all of you as you arrive. Please let us know where you are and where you're tuning in from, because we'd love to hear what you're doing. And in order to do that, you can use the chat button. Most of the time that's at the bottom of your screen. It's at the bottom of my screen on my iPad here, but for some of you, it may be at the top of the screen. You can hunt around. There's also a Q&A button, which means question and answer. Figured you probably knew that already, but you can use that to ask questions, which we'll try to address during the talk afterwards. So we're going to have time to meet the composer and meet the performer and hear from them about their process, their artistic process, and some other thoughts they might have about the piece. So just to tell you very briefly, you can also turn on you can do something called turn on original sound. And that way, I don't know, if you don't know how to use your audio settings, it'll be fine as is. But if you're a Zoom connoisseur or connoisseuse, you might want to turn on original sound. It'll get you slightly better audio that way as you listen. So at ACO, we decided to create this series, which is called Connecting ACO Community, as a response to the crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, and just to allow the creativity around us to continue to bloom, to connect us during this very dark time, and to look toward the future by creating work now to be performed that will last long afterwards. So, so we believe very strongly in that. We believe in our freelance composers and performers being paid, and in fact, we're very lucky to be working on a second volume of commissions that we will be telling you more about. So I'm very grateful that this project was supported by a lead gift from one of our great board members, Augusta Gross, and her husband, Leslie Samuels. We love them. Augusta is a composer herself. And we have additional support from the NYC COVID-19 Response and Impact Fund. So to all of you listening, I know it's tough times for everybody. If you got room to make a little gift to ACO to help us continue what we're doing here, it would be much, much appreciated. If not, don't worry about it. But there is one way that's particularly great, which is to become a monthly sustaining member of the orchestra for as little as $10 per month. And we will post the link in the chat room. So if you want to know more about it, you can just go into the chat room and see. And I noticed that there's lots and lots of people signing in. I can see people coming from Manhattan, from London, from Queens, very far away from me here in Brooklyn. The reality behind me is not real. It's fake. People are Chicago, Harpswell, Maine. Love it. Love Harpswell, Maine. Very sad to not be there. Larchmont, all over the place. Philadelphia. Okay. Now, it so happens that our composer and performer who are here with us are in 2 different time zones than I am. Jeff, you're in, tell us where you are. We know where you are, but tell us.
I am broadcasting live from the Southwest, from Tucson, Arizona.
Wonderful. Must be beautiful out there. And is it beautiful out there?
It's gorgeous. Actually, we were just chatting about how we've had a little bit of a cold front. It's not 100 degrees. It actually dipped below 90 today.
Wow,
Happy to
that's
report that.
very cold. Yeah. Well, but and are you anywhere near that great telescope that's out there?
Yes, yes. Actually, we are very close to that. Yeah, but we, as you can understand, we haven't been getting out very much these days.
Okay, so no planet viewing at the moment. And Yuan, you are right now, although you normally live in Berkeley, California, I believe, right, or San Francisco area.
Yeah. Normally in Portland, Oregon. Yeah.
Oh, you're in Portland now. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because you were teaching there for a while. And now but now right now you're in Taipei, or
Yeah.
you're in Taiwan.
Taiwan. So instead of 5 p.m., this is 5 a.m. in my time zone.
So for Jeff, the sun is going down, and for you, the sun is coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
About to come up.
That's what my background is supposed to represent here, what you see behind me, which is actually in Portugal, but I am in Brooklyn, in the heart of things. Well, we're going to hear a lot more from all of you, but can you tell us, Ron, a little bit about this piece and how you got the title too?
Yeah. Previously, I wrote some works for cellos already. So, and for this one, I really want to show all kinds of registers of the cello playing from Jeff, because after I look at his performance, I just like every part of him. So, and the title is called Sing, means synchronize, the sing, and symphony, the sim, and then finally it's the singing sing. And I like it to be a piece that is not just one soloist, but a cellist who plays multiple parts. Showing all kinds of parts he has, and then basically it's confirming that we as musicians and we in music industry, we love to be together, to play together,
And
to work together. Yeah.
And Yuan, you also mentioned that there's something about Chinese language in your work in general. Can you tell? Does that come into this piece too?
Maybe not so much about the language, but it's about the singing quality. So when we hear Jeff playing the low voice, we have the kind of glissando, and then like intonation wise, almost like singing, low growling, like that quality. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was reminded. There was one time when he's playing very high, which almost sounded very like an operatic voice.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, right? With a lot of vibrato. Yeah. Jeff, you've been involved in so many different initiatives with new music, from the Kronos Quartet to your group Miyamoto's Black Enough to National Sawdust. You're about to do with ACO. We were going to premiere. You were going to be premiering Mark Adamo's new cello concerto. You're working with Eric Whitaker in London. What can you tell us more about what got you into new music? How did you catch the bug?
I actually caught the bug. Boy, this is a pretty tough metaphor in this moment, but I caught the bug when I was quite young. When I was in high school, I was very fortunate to have a wonderful cello teacher named Margaret Tate. She's a cellist in the San Francisco Symphony. And I mean, I love her, and I loved her cello playing and her teaching style, but also I admired the fact that she, in addition to playing in the symphony, she had a string quartet along with other members of the orchestra. And they played, standard quartet music, but they also put a big emphasis on playing a lot of contemporary music. And so I think that from a very early age, I had it in my mind that I wanted to play contemporary music and I wanted to play in a string quartet. So many years later, I was having lunch with Margaret, and I gave her a hard time. I told her that, it was basically all her fault, that she actually got me started on this path very young.
Wow. Well, Jeff, we're going to let you get ready and retire for a minute to the virtual green room, as it were.
Yeah,
So, and then we'll give you the thumbs up. You give us the thumbs up when you're ready, and we'll give it to you back, and then we'll hear the premiere. So,
terrific.
thanks. Great. And so, just to tell our audience, we'd love to know what time zone you're in, because let's expand the range of time zones that people are experiencing here at Connecting ACO Community. So please write in by using the chat button at the bottom of your screen, or use the Q&A button to ask questions about the piece. Not yet, only after you listen to a bit of the piece. But Yuan, can you tell us also a little bit more about your just the kind of thing that you're working on now, your projects that you're doing? You've got a big theater project coming up, for example.
Yeah, the one gonna be premiere next year will be again in Taiwan. I was signed to collaborate with the French-German director named Lucas Hemlet, and then we're gonna work on a theater work, which is heavily, quite technologically heavy. So, and basically I'm kind of writing about the sound of the mountain, ocean, and then kind of plastic problem, and then Aboriginal people. So I'm really glad to be involved in the work that touch on a lot of things we care nowadays. Yeah.
What was the biggest, or maybe you can't pick one thing, just one thing, but what were some of the most critical things that you learned when you came to the States? What kind of differences were there in the music world, or just in general, that you found to be, especially that struck you when you moved to the States?
Yeah, I really have fantastic classmates. So like Ted Hearn and Caroline Shaw, she's a class ahead of my class. So I have those colleagues, and Jacob Cooper, Ashley, and just around that class. So just very, very extraordinary people, just to see them emerging and all the way become stars. So I get to learn a lot of new ways of thinking about music, and also basically not to be afraid of be yourself. There are so many styles and then ways of writing, and then before it was like academic style, but now I feel like, yeah, I can write all kinds of things that interest.
And in this piece you've written for Jeff, it seems like there's three main sections, and we're going to hear recorded Jeff on top. We're going to hear Jeff playing on top of a recorded version of himself.
Yeah. So basically, it's me observing that the pandemic is like waves after waves. We just see things going up, like this country, that country, and then now South America. So there's a kind of repetition of the discourse that we are experiencing globally. And every time we see that curve, it's feels different, because we're ahead of the curve or in the beginning of the curve. So we're gonna hear that process. So just remind us it happens again. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, so I'm very excited, and I see people still signing in. We've got a lot of people on today coming from all over the place, a lot from the New York area, Connecticut, Philadelphia, but also around the country, and so and around the world, in fact. So now we're going to listen to the premiere. We'll bring back Jeffrey Zeigler, who has been preparing here, and as soon as we see you, you're ready to go here? Okay.
I am ready
Okay.
to go.
So here's the premiere of Sin Sim Sing by Yuan-Chen Li.
Live studio audience here.
I want to ask you about that live audience. Is there anybody in that audience who does yo-yo tricks?
Yes, there's a certain individual here who happens to be a master of the yo-yo. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And it's not me, by the way.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll hear. Hopefully, we'll be able to sample that some other time. But beautiful piece and wonderful performance. I mean, and for those of you who have questions, I see some people are writing questions in. So we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. But one of the questions came because one of the listeners realized that you two, though both having spent a lot of time in San Francisco area don't actually know each other until now. So you've only met virtually. And can you tell us a little bit about this? Jeff, I mean, you chose to work with Yuan to ask her. So what brought you to her work, and how'd you find out?
Well, I mean, for this, I have to thank the ACO very wholeheartedly for, to be able to be a part of this amazing program, but also for being a wonderful connector here, for bringing us together. Yuan-Chen was one of the composers that was floated on a list, and I was immediately taken by her music, by her writing, by her voice. She has a very distinctive voice, and I was especially blown away by her dynamic instrumental writing. I would like to especially put a plug in for any cellists out there. You have to check out her cello concerto, because I think that's one of the coolest pieces I've ever heard in my life. So when this opportunity came up to work together, I was very excited to be able to be a part of this collaboration with her. And I think she wrote a pretty darn spectacular piece too.
Beautiful, and people are, I mean, Yuan, I don't want to do, is there anything you want to say to Jeff? I know you want to give him a hug, but you know.
Yeah, may I have a hug, please? Yeah. Yeah, it really is. When we were on the phone and talking about the music he listened to and how he felt about that, I know, I want to write a piece which is as expressive as possible. And actually, since we're still in this kind of pandemic time, I do notice that kids are very numbed. And also I know that if you're in this kind of scenario for too long, you kind of shut down your sensation. I think for us as artists and musicians, that would be really sad to be like that. And so that's why I want to write a piece that's very, very expressive instead of calm and then small. Yeah, so I think we sort of agree on that kind of emotional dynamic, and I'm really glad that we got to do this together. Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
very exciting. Yeah.
And
One of the audience comments was that they felt as if they were flying over the world. Like this performance, which flew over the world instantaneously. So, Jeff, you know, one of the comments was that it sounded amazing, and they're wondering what your setup is, what your gear is there that you're using at home.
Sure. Yes, so the setup here is, of course, unique to this particular performance. One of the things that's wonderful about the future life of this piece is that it can actually be performed many different ways. This particular performance, though, I was using this microphone, and I pre-recorded the loops. Actually, I'd like to give a shout out to Garth McAlevey, who prepared an amazing sounding backing track. But this is just one way to perform it. This could be performed with 3 different cellists. Actually, it could also be performed with a cellist, a violist, and a violinist. So hopefully not me on the violin or the viola. So, but the piece can actually be performed in many different iterations. Also, it could be performed with a loop pedal. But you know, one of the circumstances with the situation that we're all in, my family, and traveling to Arizona, I was only able to carry what I can, or bring what I can carry on my back. So unfortunately, my loop pedal is still in New York. So.
Yeah. So you made do with the different Yuan, you were talking about that you saw this piece as actually having aspects of minimalism in it, which might be something that the listener wouldn't hear. They might not have thought of Philip Glass right away, for example. But you're talking more formally about your ideas. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, formally, the first low sound we hear, that takes over 2.5 minutes. is basically a rising curve. So goes up and then kind of repeat again. So the second and the third line we hear gradually are written on top of them. So I wrote sort of like in my head that I will add more words, but basically I was in the time of writing, I was just dealing with one voice at a time. In the meantime, preserving for future layers. So, and then they are sort of trying to change the discourse. The second reiteration or the third reiteration, that means that influence how we perceive this curve. So.
Yeah. Wow. And one of the listeners said that they could hear the waves that you were talking about. And they felt what you were talking about your memories and the past coming back. And this piece is very much, it's about the recent past in some ways, because you hear again what you heard before, each time, starting with that Kalenya Batuta kind of thing. And yeah, it's what would you say, Jeff? I mean, in this period, how are you working? Are you having trouble working? Are you, how are you finding as a performer who's on the road all the time and doing millions of projects and recording all the time, and also in charge of working with Paola Prestini very closely at National Sawdust, a venue which is presenting music continually. How do you find this time? What are you doing with your time?
Well, I think like all of us, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I think that my initial reaction was, wow, all of my concerts got canceled. What do I do now? It was a very sudden shock, because of course concerts, recordings, things like that, they give you a lot of motivation for, setting goals, repertoire and things like that. So it's given me a lot of time to rethink what next steps can be, which, as difficult a time as this is for all of us, I think that I really do appreciate that bit of space to be able to reflect a bit. And one thing, you mentioned Paola Prestini, my wife, amazing composer. One thing that it's a little early to say, but we've actually been discussing a new project together, and we're very excited about it. It's not yet ready to be announced, but we've already begun working on it. So in a way, for so many people who are in isolation, I've actually been spending my isolation with one of the greatest artists I know. So it's actually in some ways been a huge motivation for me.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. And of course, you two have worked together on many projects, and Paola does a lot of multimedia work herself. So, Yuan, you're now in Taiwan. When do you think you'll be heading back to the States? Are you?
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't know if you're looking forward to getting on another airplane, but.
Yeah, soon. So that'll be June 1st. It's actually terribly difficult. My flight get canceled twice, and then every time I rebook, it's higher, and there are a lot of just outrageous procedures. So it's terribly difficult to fly at this time. And it's also very nerve-wracking, like for international flights, like over 10 hours with a lot of people. Yeah, so I do wear the bunny suits and then cover myself up so all the time. Yeah. So
well, we wish you best of health and also a very good day today as the sun rises for you, just as the sun is setting on Jeff Zeigler. Thank you both so much for keeping art alive during this time. Thank you to our informal advisor, Silas Brown, who helped us get this project started. Thanks to the ACO staff, Lindsay, Aiden, Jade, Stephanie, Jay, and of course, Ed Yim, our president. And we will be back next week with a very exciting project. Carlos Simon, the composer, has written a work which is going to feature Anthony Roth Costanza, the great countertenor, and the Brooklyn Youth Chorus. So how is that going to manifest? Well, you'll find out if you tune in on the 31st on next Sunday. So it's very exciting, and we'll be doing these projects all summer. For more information about all of this, you can go to our website, AmericanComposers.org, and that will be in your little chat window, I suppose. So you can watch it again at Music on the Rebound if you want to see this particular performance again, and as well as the past performances. You can watch them at Music on the Rebound, and that link will be in the chat box from our host, who will put it in the chat box, also named Stephanie, but you'll see her there as host. So stay strong, everybody. Stay safe, stay alive. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Yuan, and stay with us next week. Come back and hear us again at Connecting ACO Community. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.